everyone. Excuse the ugly tripod legs, but I could not get this adjusted to avoid that. I'm not a professional tutorial maker or anything. I've got my Singer Ultra Lock just sitting in the sides here. So today's tutorial, we are going to be making a knitted Christmas ornament, which is a little beanie. As you can see, it makes a great gift at Christmas time. I just got this little box from the reject shop for about $2, and I put some pink tissue paper scrunched up in the bottom and put 6 hats in here, which take about 15 minutes to knit. If you're a competent knitter, or confident knitter I should say, and they might take a little bit longer if you are new to knitting, especially on DPNs. So to make this gift, or you could also make it just to have at home on your tree, or put one single hat with a card at Christmas time as something special. This is what you're going to need. So apologies for the dodgy tutorial that you're about to watch. As I said, I'm not professional in that regard. I don't have a professional setup, but I just want to give you some tips. So there are lots of tutorials online for the basic stitches you'll need to do and all that. I'll try and show you as best I can, and then yeah, definitely if you need more help, go and have a look online. There are plenty of video tutorials for you to look at on how to knit purl, DPNs, long tail cast on, all that sort of thing. So what you're going to need for this project is a pair of scissors, some glue. Now this is just washable clear glue, craft glue, a hot glue gun, or my favourite, which I use for making my needle minders, and this looks very dodgy, doesn't it? Is my E6000 glue. Nothing moves when you put that on, it stays forever. But that's quite expensive to buy. You can get that from Spotlight or online on eBay or Amazon, but it's about $20. These ones you can get very cheap from most stores. Okay, you're also going to need a darning needle. These ones I have available in my shop. Some cute little pom-poms if you don't want to make your own. I just got these tiny little ones from Spotlight for a pack for $3. You can get different colours, but I just chose white because it's going to go with whatever I pick, yarn-wise. And then for about $3 at Spotlight, I also got these tiny little jingle bells. They're very tiny, as you can see. You only need one pom and one jingle bell for one hat, obviously. You're going to need some 4-ply yarn, just leftover yarn, whatever you've got hanging around. If you don't have 4-ply yarn and you've got bigger needles than you need, like 8-ply yarn or something, it'll just mean that your hat's bigger, that's all. So I've got some 4-ply leftover Dingo Dye Works singles yarn that I got in an advent in recent years, and then I've just got some 4-ply baby yarn from Spotlight, so whatever you've got going. So I'm going to do a 2-colour hat today, but you could just stick to 1 colour. You don't have to change colours then. It's up to you. The pattern for this little hat is in the drop down box below. It's a free PDF pattern from Ravelry. If you're not a member of Ravelry, it's free to join, but I'm not sure you'll be able to get the pattern otherwise. So you might have to join up. What else? That's it. So let's get started. Okay, so just a close-up before we get started of the little hat. So it just has a ribbed brim and a stockinette for the rest of the hat, and then the little pom-pom on top, and I use the leftover yarn when I'm finished tying off to make a loop for the little loop to hang it on the tree, and then inside is the little bell. I forgot to also say you might need some, if the yarn you're using is too thick, I just have some vintage crochet cotton available to me, but any sort of thicker thread will do just to hang the jingle bell on. Using normal sewing thread is too thin, so you need something either yarn or a little bit thicker thread, whatever you've got handy, or string of some kind, just to put that bell in. Okay, so the DPNs I'm using for this are not the called for size, so it doesn't matter if you don't have the correct size DPNs. Near enough is good enough. So I would prefer, I'm using my other DPNs on some socks, so I don't have them available because they're shorter ones, meaning that they're not as long, so they're less awkward. I prefer using bamboo or wooden DPNs because they're less slippery than metal ones, so you don't have the worry of stitches falling off accidentally, and also it's easier to get a nice tight stitch in between the needles when you're going around, so you don't get that ladder effect, and it's easier on your hands. So these are higher and they're 3.25 millimeters, and just if you have bigger needles, it means your hat will be bigger. If you have smaller millimeter needles, it'll be smaller hat. That's the only difference. And same with your yarn. If you had 8-ply yarn but you didn't have 4-ply yarn, then you'll just use that and have a bigger hat. So I'm just going to do a long tail cast on. So I'm going to do the brim in this lovely mauve colour. So I'm just going to get a good length. Now there's plenty of tutorials, as I said, online, so probably best to go to them. But anyway, I'll just show you what I know, and then if you need more, you can go elsewhere. So I leave a good length of thread yarn because you're going to be using this up as you go along. And it's only scrap yarn, so it doesn't matter if you need to cut it shorter. So I wrap the yarn around my thumb, around my forefinger, and back around and hold it with the rest of my fingers on my hand, as you can see. And then I get my needle and I put it between the yarn and the space between my fingers. And I pull it out like that, so we get like a triangle. So sometimes it's easier to hold it with your forefinger on this side, just to keep that from slipping off. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the left and you're going to go under the thumb loop, over the finger loop. It's hard to show you on here. And you're going to come back through the top of the thumb loop again and drop that off your thumb. And then you've got your first 2 stitches. And so you're just going to, keep doing this till you've got 28 stitches on your needle. So under, over, through, under, over, through. It's hard trying to do it and see backwards on the camera. Under, over, through, and just keep doing that till you've got 28 stitches, and we'll come back. Okay, so I've put my 28 stitches on my needle, and now we're going to use 2 of the needles to split our stitches between the 3 needles. So you're going to add, because this is 28 cast on, you're going to add 10 stitches to the first needle. It may say differently in the thing, but it doesn't matter in the pattern. And 9 stitches to this needle and leave 9 on this needle. So I just go through each loop and just pop it over and just count to 10. Just shuffle those stitches up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry, this is very awkward trying to lean over to reach the camera. 8, 9, 10. Let me just double check that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So just move them down a fraction, and then we're going to get the next needle, and we're going to put 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oops. And we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 on here. Sorry if I went out of frame. So now we've got this dangly mess and we're going to just pop these, move these up to the other end of the needle because we're going to be, oops, just push that through. Okay, so I've just moved these stitches up to the other end because what we're going to be doing is joining this like a triangle. These 3 needles will join together. So what we need to do is make sure we keep this ridge in the center and it doesn't get twisted, because if it gets twisted you'll have to start again because it will never make it into a hat because it'll be like an infinity scarf, a mini version. So we need to move this top stitch over to this side and this top stitch over to this needle to join the 2 together. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to shuffle this along a bit. Now this is going to look super duper awkward. If you haven't dealt with double pointed needles before, this is going to look really messy. But take my word for it, it works. So on the left we have our working yarn, but we need to get it onto the right. So I'm just going to move these up a bit further. So you want to keep this on the outside. You don't want to let it get stuck on the inside of the triangle because you won't be able to fit it through here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop the left stitch onto the right needle, and then I'm going to pull that tail tight so it doesn't fall off, and then I'm going to take the first stitch on the right needle that was the original one, the original first stitch, and I'm going to pull this tight. Can you see that? And I'm going to pop it over onto this side. So now we've got our little triangle joined up. So we need to keep all these little ridges on the inside. Now we're going to get our 4th needle, and this is where the fun begins. Hopefully this will come into focus. So you're going to pop it in to do your first stitch on the left needle, and you're going to bring this up and you're going to make sure you've got your working yarn. So this tail's quite long. I'm just going to shorten it so that we don't get it confused. Just leave a couple of inches so you can weave that in later. And now we're going to knit purl. Now if you're a beginner DPN knitter and you're worried about ladders, because it's only a small little ornament, it's neither here nor there if you don't follow it exactly. Just do a knit, make sure you go knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl to the end. And even if there's a knit stitch on the end, do a knit stitch to start between the next needles so that it's easier to get it tight. But otherwise just go knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, I can't talk, all the way around. And you'll know the end of the round because you get back to the tail. So you don't need a stitch marker if you don't want it. So you're going to pull this and you're going to come around like you're normally knitting, but you're going to make sure you pull always between each needle. When you start between each set of needles, you're going to pull this really tight at the start because that way you'll avoid that ladder. So knit, yarn to the front, purl, and it might seem a bit loose to begin with, but it will tighten up. Just try and keep that really tight at the beginning of each set of needles. Knit, purl. So I'll come back to you because this is going to make you seasick once I've got round the first round. So need to get that in focus. So I've just done a couple of rounds and it's not twisted or anything. So you will notice if it's twisted because it'll be all weird. It'll be really obvious after the first couple of rounds. So you just want to keep going like this. The pattern tells you how many rounds to do. I just eyeball it. You know, oops, where did I do on that one? It's probably about 5 or 6 rounds on that. And then you can start on the hat. So I'll come back to you when I'm ready to change colours for the hat. Hey, I'm back. So I was a bit overzealous before. I said an inch, but it's more like just over half an inch. But you just follow the pattern. Or you can add a few extra rows, it doesn't matter. So now we've got our brim, we've got the main part of our hat, And we're just going to start the decreases, so that's just knitting in the round, but you're going to every so often knit 2 together. So the pattern goes, for the first round in the decreases you knit 5 and then knit 2 stitches together, knit 5, knit 2 stitches together all the way around. Then the next round it'll be 4 stitches, then 2 together, 4 and 2, and then all the way to the end, and then it's going to be 3 and 2 to knit 2 together, 3 stitches and then knit 2 together, and then 2 stitches and then knit 2 together, knit 2 stitches, knit 2 together, and then finally the last round of decreases will be knit 2 together all the way around. And then you'll just, we'll get to the part where I'll show you how to thread the darning needle through to finish it off. So here we go. I'll just show you the first part. Hopefully this stays in focus. So we're going to knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then knit 2 together. So, oops. Got the 2 stitches on the needle, knit 2 together, knit 1, 2, oops, sorry it's hard, it's catching the needles that are so long they're catching on the camera, 3, and then we're going to do 2 more knit stitches on this needle before we knit 2 together. So this is the 4th one we're knitting, pulling it nice and tight, 4, 5, oops, knit 2 together. So you're going to do that all the way around and keep following the decrease pattern till you get to where you're ready to tie off. Okay, now I've finished all the decreases for my hat. So I'm going to cut the thread and leave a decently long tail on it because I'm going to use part of it for the loop. So I've left about 8 inches or so. And now we're going to thread that tail onto our darning needle. And we're just going to, oops, get that. So we're going to start on the next needle, next to the one that we finished on, and you're just going to pop your needle through each of the loops. This one does want to play nice. Oops, come on. There we go. And then you pop that needle out. You go on to the next needle. Don't worry that this is all open and loose. So we're going on to the, oops, it's got twisted. The next needle, pop that through, rip that needle out. Oh, fumble fingers today. Pop that one through, rip that needle out. Now, we've got a hole at the top. I'm just going to pull that tight. Okay. And then I just sort of send it round again, just to be sure, just to make sure it pulls in a bit tight. Don't have to be elegant. Okay. And then you're just going to pop that down the middle and out the other side. And you're going to turn it inside out. But you're going to leave a little tail loop, which will be what we hang it on the tree with. So just be careful not to pull it until we secure it, because it'll pull all the way through and you'll be left with no loop. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little thread through a knot a couple of times just to secure that loop so that it doesn't shorten. I'll just have to support that, pull it tight. And just through again another loop. And just double check that we've still got our tie. Yep. And don't worry if the top's not super neat, because you're going to stick a pom-pom on it anyway, most likely. So what I do to just thread the ends in is I just go around a few times and I just pick up a bump, a purl bump, like that. And I go up, and then I'll come down in the next one. Doop, turn it round, just grab another one. And I'll just go round and round like that for a few times just to secure it. It's only a decoration, you're not going to be wearing it, so you don't need to be too fussy. Okay, that should be enough after I do this one. So just pop that through, and I'm going to cut that thread. So now you're just going to do the same and weave in your ends for these tails, and then we'll put the pom-pom on and the bell in. Okay, so now that you've tied in your ends, we've turned our hat back the way it should be. We've got our little loop on the top of the hat. So now we want to get a little piece of our thread, whatever it is you're using. I just do like a small piece, you don't need a lot of length, just enough to tie it off. And you're just going to pop that through your darning needle. And then what I do is I stick it up the center, and it comes out the top of the hat somewhere. Oops. Like so. And then you want to just bring it, don't pull it all the way through, you're just going to pop it back through the middle of the hat and pull off the darning needle. So now you're just going to pull that through and turn the hat inside out. So now what we need to do is we need to thread the little bauble. I'm just using a silver one. You can do whatever colour you like. And we're just going to pop that through. And then what we're going to do is try and guesstimate. Now, it can be a bit of faffing. I like to have the bell so that it's just near the bottom but not dangling out, but it doesn't matter if it does. So you're just going to hold the two strands together, loop that, do a loop, and pop your ends through to tie it off. It's a little bit fiddly when you're trying to do it on camera. Oh dear. Oh goodness. Fumble fingers, I tell you. I'm sure you'll be much more eloquently doing it than I am. And then you just want to sort of guesstimate that that's, you know, enough. And just pull that tight. And then you're going to cut the end just below the knot. And then what I do is I just pull the thread, I want to go that way. I just pull the thread up till the knot's sitting up inside the middle, because we don't want to see that dangling down. And then we're just going to see how well we did. So it's just dangling just a little bit out the hat, which doesn't matter. And then we've got a cute little hat. So now all we need to do is get our glue and our pom, and glue the pom to the top of the hat and let it dry. So I'm going to get my preferred E6000 glue, which looks like a dog's breakfast, because it's not, it's very messy. I'm just going to pop a blob out and squish it, squash that onto the end like so. I'm going to stick my finger up under here just to puff that out, and then I'm just going to try and get it over the, oh goodness, I've just lost my, goodness me. I'm going to just stick it on the middle, just where the loop is, give it a push down, and then just leave it to dry. And there you have a very adorable little ornament hat to gift or to hang on your tree this Christmas or give to a friend, or you could make a whole set like I did to give as a gift. So you've got that. I'll just show you one other one I did earlier. If you have some sock yarn, the self-striping yarn, this is an excellent way if you don't want to change colours, because it does it for you. And so this is a self-striping sock yarn I got from New Zealand a few years ago, and I just had some scraps left, and so that looks super cute. And you can just sort of use your thumb to puff out the hat before you hang it, and you've got yourself a cute little Santa, like a little beanie, Christmas beanie. So there you go. So that's, oops, that's the little tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed it and found some useful tips out of it. Definitely share with me on Instagram. Tag me if you make some. I'd love to see them. I'm also on Facebook as Lisa Loves Stitchin', and Lisa Loves Stitchin' on Facebook, and my shop is lillypillystitches. So tag me anywhere there. I'd love to see what you make this Christmas.